Hello all, today's video is going to be a little bit different than videos that I've made in the past. Today, we're going to take a look back at the channel's adventures through the Caverns of Time. It's been just over a year since I dedicated my time to this channel, where I started with the Caverns of Time series. I know that lately there have been few uploads, but you guys know why. You've seen the channel update video, and if you haven't, then check that out if you want to know why there's few videos on the channel lately. There have been some crazy family emergencies that have come up, and now, in December, I am finally able to dedicate some, not a lot, of time to making new videos. I do plan to jump back into frequent uploads, but for now I wanted to celebrate my 770 plus subscribers with a montage of my favorite series on the channel. Throughout this montage, I will be cutting the intros and outros and information about the channel for each of the dungeons we explore, and I will add a little bit of commentary before each section. They will be presented in the order that they were uploaded to the channel. So, let's watch my Demon Hunter break World of Warcraft and escape out of all 8 Caverns of Time's dungeons, as well as the Caverns of Times themselves. I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching. A final note I will add here is that some of these glitches may or may not be possible due to no longer being able to use the most broken spell in World of Warcraft, Dwarf Shadows, outside of the Shadowlands. The first video I made about the Caverns of Time was about the Black Morass. Actually, quite a few people haven't seen this one, but you can clearly tell it was an older video and I still enjoyed making it. This is dungeon number 1 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. Today, we will be breaking out of bounds in the Black Morass. The Black Morass is an interesting instance. In current day World of Warcraft, it is an area called the Blasted Lands. And if you know much about WoW's lore, you'll know that the Blasted Lands were formed out of the Black Morass because of, well, Medivh. He decided to open this thing called the Dark Portal, you may have heard of it, and he let the orcs pour into Azeroth. In this instance, you are trying to stop the Black Dragonflight from destroying the portal.
The time has come to shatter this clockwork universe forever.
If you think about it, it would be pretty darn awful for the World of Warcraft universe if the current horde was not able to help against, say, I don't know, the Legion. But anyway, Medivh was successful, and the lush Black Morass became a desolate, barren Blastlands because of the portal. Now it's time to actually perform the glitch. After you walk into the Black Morass, you'll notice the obvious. It is surrounded by mountains, and you're trapped in a swampy area. I tried to climb through many paths throughout the mountains to get on top of them, but scaling them is actually harder than it looks. You'll see here that I had trouble finding the right spot to climb up. Complete failures. I did find an area or two to glitch up, but in my second attempt to perform the glitch, I discovered a very quick and very easy way to the top of the mountains. I performed this glitch with well dang, come on guys, you know the drill, a frickin' Demon Hunter. What other class would I use to break out of bounds? Anyway, you'll exit the little entrance from the instance portal, and you'll turn facing toward the rocks. When facing the rocks, move to the left side of them. They kind of look like a rock cliff. When you start jumping, make sure to use these rocks for every bit of leverage you can find. Then, when you cannot use the rocks anymore, make sure to try and fly to the flatter sections of the mountains. With a tad bit of skill and a little bit of mountain scaling knowledge, you should be able to scale to the top of the mountains with very little issue. just broke out of bounds in the mountains and found a hidden glitched area in World of Warcraft's Caverns of Time's Black Morass. There aren't even any invisible barriers, so you really don't need to have Metamorphosis or Door of Shadows. Just a bit of parkour and glide and, well, double jumping. Now it's time to explore. But do be sure to look at the gorgeous scenery of the swamp. It truly is quite beautiful, so definitely before you continue, make sure to at least check this out. The first thing I attempt to do in the top layer of the zone is travel north in order to see if there's more to the glitched area. Nothing immediately popped out. It's it's flat. And there's definitely a lot of, I can't believe I'm gonna make this joke, but there's morass up here. Oh man, that was bad. But anyway, you'll see that under the flatness, you can see the swamp and all of its beauty. Still, nothing truly stuck out to me, and so I decided to head in the eastern direction. Sometimes glitches take a while to get through, and there may not be much to really look at, but you never know what you might find. In the east corner of the map, I was able to see inside of the Caverns of Time's entrance, but nothing else of interest was noted, and so I decided to turn south, and yeah, there's not much over there either. But don't give up hope yet, is what I told myself. So on to the west I traveled to conduct more and more research. And yeah, there honestly wasn't a whole lot over there either. And I finally then decided to run back towards the north where I originally glitched out of bounds. Some interesting scenery was viewable along the way, but sadly, once again, nothing. And after not having any luck in the open flatness of the Morass, I decided to just explore around the mountains. And to be honest, seeing the portal in the background is quite mesmerizing. It does bring me back to a time when all the crap Blizzard is currently doing just kind of disappears. Then a moment later, I come back to reality and remember that Bobby Kotick has been recently subpoenaed to the court for, stuff. And, well, I got off my mount for a bit more control so I didn't fall back into the swamp, and I just kind of screwed around for a bit. After a while, I did find a weird textured area into the east, and so that's definitely a bit strange. Probably best not to fall in there. This mountain looks kind of a bit off as well, and otherwise there really wasn't that much. I knew I had one more task. I had to do it. And since I really couldn't find a whole lot of things that were of interest out in the glitched area of the map, I decided to make the final part of this glitch, well, you guessed it, jumping onto the dark portal. What else do you do whenever you have the ability to jump onto the dark portal in an area you cannot fly? You're gonna jump onto it if you can. It took me a bit to line up the correct area to make sure that the jump would work, but here goes nothing. Okay, for a second I just stood there in the air, but whatever. And there you have it, jumping onto the dark portal in the Black Morass. Sadly, that pretty much sums up this glitch. There's really not too much going on, but some great scenery and something that I've always wanted to do. Oh yeah! What happens if you... well... never mind. The next section is a video where I actually broke out of the Caverns of Time itself. I truly was ecstatic when I discovered that it was possible. Sadly, this glitch may or may not be as easy as it was, though I do not know for sure as I've not gone back and tried again. And today, we look at the Caverns of Time's biggest secret. One not seen anywhere else on YouTube, or at least as far as I was able to find. If there is another video about this, I could not discover it. The Caverns of Time, one of my absolute favorite areas in all of World of Warcraft. It's full of lore, it's full of mystery, it's full of dungeons and raid content, and oh yeah, frickin' massive glitch that allows me to break out of bounds. As a teen, I often wondered about the serene beauty of this tapestry of stars and planets. It filled me with an incredible sense of awe, and even now, I'm filled to the brim with nostalgia. Flying using the dragon to the center of the Caverns of Time for the first time is a memory that I will always cherish. The music is perfect. The scenery is perfect. All is well, and now, in my old life of the ripe old age of 26, I'm also filled with curiosity. Curiosity of what actually lies outside of the bounds. Curiosity of what actually lies outside of these beautiful cavern walls. What mysteries await my discovery? Is it an entire spacious zone? Are there NPCs out there? Well, what I found was definitely interesting. And today I'm going to show you everything I found when I broke out of bounds in the Caverns of Time. Before we explore the out of bounds area, I do want to show you how I actually broke out of bounds so you can maybe perform this glitch and explore the area of your own. As per usual, I am playing as a hunter of demons. Gotcha. As a demon hunter, I started exploring the main area of the caverns quite thoroughly. I was very determined to get past the invisible barriers that block the beautiful landscape from us. Using many of the techniques that I've learned from my penniless YouTube career, I really did try everything I knew. At first I tried my best to clip through the houses and the inns on the way to the main part of the caverns. I did discover some beautiful shots of scenery, and after all my attempts with Door of Shadows and Metamorphosis, I had absolutely no luck of getting out of bounds. So the tunnel to the caverns was a no-go. The next area I tried to glitch out of was the top of the main area of the caverns. I mean, with so much space in this room, there's bound to be at least one area I could clip out of, right? I mean, I did try for over an hour, and I was going in circles above the area looking for some glimpse of clipping out of bounds. Nothing was successful. Even in the areas I could click around with Metamorphosis and Door of Shadows. I mean, that's how I've glitched out of bounds in the Firelands. But none of it worked. I was really hoping it would work, but it did not. Well, after doing all these useless clipping into walls and flying around everywhere, I tried to find areas where I was able to clip into the wall or maybe even underneath an area. Sort of like how I did in my Strathome instance glitch. I tried the Culling of Strathome instance area and I had no luck there, but I did have some interesting scenery and it did look promising. I'm sure if I went back here and spent significantly more time here, I would be able to get out of bounds, but I'm not going to do that if I don't need to. I then went to the Black Morass entrance, an instance I recently did a video on, and I tried to get past the instance itself. I was actually successful at this, but it didn't bring me any closer getting out of bounds. I just got stuck again. Next, it was time to head over to the Cataclysm area of the Caverns of Time. In this corner, we have the End Time Dungeon, the Hour of Twilight Dungeon, and the Dragon Soul Raid. At first, I attempted to wall clip into this pillar here, and it was partially successful. But after about 10 minutes, I was not able to proceed any further. Definitely spent a lot of time here, no avail. I was still able to catch some pretty awesome views of the Caverns of Time though. I won't lie, at this point, I was not desperate, but I was losing some morale. I tried to backtrack a bit, and then, just when I was finally about to call it a night, I tried something a bit, well, I guess you could say it's crazy. I went back over to the Cataclysm instances, and I remembered that there was another pillar that was fairly close to the ceiling. Again, I mentioned this, but if you watched my Strathome instance glitch that I released a few weeks earlier, you'll remember that I was able to jump through the roof of the map. Here, I tried the same thing. But instead of a relatively calculated Door of Shadows, I do what any professional glitcher does. I clicked randomly until eventually I got it to allow me to click on a spot that allowed me to get really close to the ceiling. And I kept doing that, and eventually, there really wasn't much more to it than that. Here's a glitch. You click around randomly on the pillar in an area where you would have the top half of your body out of bounds using Door of Shadows. You try to jump, and if you can, you make your way over towards the out of bounds area. You guys know what this means. It is time to explore. Finally, we made it. We are out of bounds in the Caverns of Time. And we discovered the greatest secret that it holds. Before I continue, I make sure to look around and take in this beauty. We're finally seeing what the out of bounds Caverns of Time looks like, and we are in the very fabric of space and time. is there more to this tapestry of stars, planets, and flowing energy? Of course you know there's more. Something is way off. Look at this. Not entirely what I was expecting, but freaking awesome. It feels as if this glitch was almost as big as glitching underneath Stormwind back before the Cataclysm. In a way, I'm disappointed that it's not just a massive space underground filled with stars and planets, but it is a massive space filled with space.
Wow.
And glitchy textures and areas. I begin to try and fly, but it isn't the easiest area to navigate. The first thing I see is the ocean, lake, whatever it is in Tanaris, and it's hauntingly beautiful. I fly around a bit and hit a pretty big issue pretty quickly. The area is, well, glitched, and I get kicked out of the game. I log back in and I get a bit nervous that I might have gotten stuck, so instead of traveling out further, I go back to known territory. Goodness, the scenery is just incredible though. I do travel around a little bit more, and I find out that I can pretty much travel to any part of the Caverns of Time. Here, in this shot, I end up behind the End Time Instance portal. There's a neat dragon skull back here, but it's really about it. Sadly, while I know exactly how to glitch out of bounds from the pillar part, I am not sure of any other way to get back out there. So when I clipped back into the area, I had no choice but to make my way back to the pillar. Thankfully, the glitch is repeatable, and so the next time I try the glitch, I'm extremely careful, or at least I try to be. It's almost impossible to determine what will and won't kick me out of the game. Here's a bit of footage I captured though. The fourth time I entered the glitched area, third time definitely was not the charm in this case. And the fourth time I tried to travel as far as I could, but the area is very unstable. So I went a different direction and it landed me behind an instance portal with an amazing cool scene, with the Cosmos Tapestry as the end of the tunnel. Thankfully in this case I was able to mount right back up and fly away towards the Silithid area. Flying towards the Silithid area, I clipped back into the Caverns of Time where I could see the tapestry, but more on this later. I also apologize to my guild for logging in and frequently during this time. I'm sure that was a great experience for all of them, especially during raiding time where I just kept logging in and logging out. Not my fault though. I mean, it is my fault, but you know what I mean. I try and fly back out, but I keep on glitching. I decided to head back to a familiar area, but another crash occurred. I almost felt stuck at this point, and there were some enemies floating above me though, so that was a neat scene at least. Seeing these enemies piqued my curiosity, and I decided to fly up to them, hoping the area was stable. I discovered something weird. You know the crust burster enemies? Well, their true form is under the sands, and this is what they truly look like. They are so powerful that their bodies dissipate the sands around them without moving a single muscle. Only by bringing them to the surface can they be defeated. Encouraged by the discovery, I decided to brave the glitch world again, and again I find the caverns, and look at this beauty. I am above the main part of the bronze dragonflight's lair. Let's see if we can make it to the out of bounds NPC that usually watches over the Caverns of Time. We certainly can. And we as well can watch over the land. I've always wanted to be on this side of the barrier, and finally that dream has been accomplished. I'm blown away by the beauty of this place, and honestly, just take this sight in for a moment. It is gorgeous. After a bit of nostalgia, I started my final journey. What do the infamous Sands of Time contain inside of them? And are they truly as important as Naz Dormu claims? Inbound you cannot clip into them, but since I'm a demon hunter, I am required to explore. Here they are in all their glory, pretty dang trippy and also mesmerizing. Blizzard made an amazing area. I decide to dismount and I fall back to the real Azeroth. That's it. That's the end of the journey in the out of bounds area of the Caverns of Time. We broke out of bounds, we explored glitched textures, we discovered the creepiest mob on the whole freaking planet, and we visited the Lonely Watcher. And finally, we traversed the Sands of Times themselves. The Caverns of Time's greatest secret has been discovered. The next dungeon I explored was the Hour of Twilight. This out of bounds area was massive, so massive in fact that I had to make 2 videos about it. This is by far the most ambitious exploration that I had performed at the time. Well, it's all here, so let's get started. This is dungeon number 2 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. I'm on the ladder to heaven. I'm on the ladder to heaven. Nah, I'm not a singer. Not as catchy as the Highway to Hell, but yeah. Anyway, we're back in World of Warcraft. I found another glitch. I mean, I'm playing a demon hunter, so did you really expect anything less? I don't do these just for personal enjoyment though. I want to show off these areas and I want to show them off to the rest of the world. The YouTube world. At the beginning of the instance, I immediately look for areas to glitch out of. I jump around here, I jump around there, but after a ton of clicking and some slight wall clips, I made no progress on getting out of bounds. After trying to glitch into this area, I realized that the area is pretty unbreakable, which slightly worries me, but I know the man who can get me where I need to go. Talk to Thrall, and he will begin the chain of events that will allow you to reach the next area. Trust me, it's well worth the long wait. Now it's time to explore the greater area of the instance. First, I check out where all the boundaries are in the area so I don't accidentally walk back through them if I do end up breaking past them. I don't want to walk back into them, that'd be kind of, ruining the point. The invisible barriers in this place particularly feel clunky and lazy, and well, just jumping around I got stuck in this little area and I really can't even explain how. I honestly do not remember how. Something interesting to note here though, physics, well, they don't really exist here. I noticed that I could just keep climbing, and climbing, and climbing, and I could almost feel the sky is calling me. It's almost like I'm on this strangely semi-stable, invisible, and annoying ladder to heaven. I spend way too much time climbing as high as possible, and I do get up very high, but as WoW has taught us, even the highest values must fall. I wish I would have been able to continue traveling upwards, but I keep falling and I have to move on. I just keep falling and it makes so much progress and it's just wasting my time at this point. Please though, if you can find anything else about this infinite climbing glitch, please let me know. When I realized I could not escape this glitched area, I did what any professional explorer does. Make my health at 0 and restart my journey, of course.
Wow.
When starting over, I decided to Door of Shadows my way past this invisible barrier. And quickly I discovered that the chasm can be crossed, and it can be crossed quite easily. I perform a glitch step and now I'm above the instance portal. I've crossed the chasm and now, as you guys know, it is time to explore. After I Door of Shadows through a second barrier, of course, I get that sweet American freedom. And now we're able to explore the out of bounds area in the Hour of Twilight instance in the Caverns of Times. What a dang mouthful. The first area I decided to explore is in the north, where earlier we could see portion of what looks like the Crystal Song Forest, which you can see when I perform the ladder to Heaven glitch. I'm once again reminded of just how gorgeous Northern truly is. In this round of exploration, I actually stick to the mountains and did not traverse the Crystal Song Forest area. I felt as though I would not have been able to get back to where I wanted to be. More on this in the next video, though. I'm just going to be honest, I know at this point in recording this audio that I'm probably not going to cover it in that video either, but there will be plenty of other cool things covered in that video. I had to see if I could reach it. Yes, the Wrathgate. This area is fully explorable. I abandoned the mountains and reached the Horde base, and it's here. All of it. This is what I saw. After exploring everything I could about the Wrathgate area, I attempted to head over to the Hyjal Narub portion of Dragonblight. Strangely, the water was not added into this area, and the whole chunk of the area is just a mess. Better if I avoid exploring here too much. The land stars rest here as well, and so is this beach area, and all the water is included, and much more on this later on. So looking back at all the exploration, I should have had a map in Northrend, and that way I would have been able to keep track of where I was going in relation to the actual map. But an instance map is kind of useless if you aren't within the barriers that they are intended for you. I'll keep this in mind for another glitch in the future, though I do have a few recorded already, so it'll be a bit before I really take into consideration that. At this point, I hit the massive beach of the Milwaukee Harbor, and after a bit of debating with myself, I decided to skip exploring this part of the out of bounds area for now, but more again on this area later. The area is a bit much for just a little old explorer like me. So I head over to the Wolvar camp, and I look through it a bit, and then I turn my attention to the Tuskar area. I had a feeling that something might be awaiting me. I head over there, and I was right. This definitely should not be here. The turtle is completely animated in the instance. Why? It's freaking cool though. So what else does one do when there's a giant turtle? You jump on its shell, of course. I've got to say, this is becoming one shell of a glitch. Hey? No? Okay. Well, anyway, it even states that you're in the half shell when you jump on top of it. Quite a neat discovery. Other than that, there are a few crabs in some cages. I spend a bit of time with my new buddies, and then I explore the other huts in the area. While the music change when entering the houses is very cool, there didn't seem to be much else to explore in this area, just a few more crabs. I mount up and I head into the distance once more. Next, I find that you can fully explore the Ruby Dragon Shrine. Not typically accessible in the instance, and it's gorgeous as always. I explored the outer waste as well, and seeing if there's anything between known interesting points. One amazing discovery I did find while exploring this area is the Goblin Racers. Now these racers are here in the actual Dragonblight map, but it is still hilarious and interesting to see them here as well. The only thing different in this area is, of course, the instance portal is right in the middle of the chasm. I'm technically behind the portal itself. Now here's the thing. There is still a ton left to explore, and I mean a ton. The first place I explore is near the Wormrest Temple. You can glitch out of bounds over here with the Door of Shadows, but it is a tad bit of a wonky area. The first thing you'll notice is that yes, there are technically out of bounds NPCs that you can fight and kill here, which are otherwise unencounterable. I love finding NPCs that are otherwise not reachable. You know, it's one of my favorite things about glitching out of bounds. They don't drop anything and are definitely infinitely spawning, but I found it very interesting that you could actually interact with them and stop them from sieging the temple. Of course, this means that you can also visit the cultists that are spawning enemies. You cannot interact with them, but seeing them this close is something I previously thought impossible. I tried to travel to these massive elementals in the background, but you cannot reach them from here. I'm sure that you could reach them from the other side of the map, but I sort of forgot to try. Those and the non-Scarlet Pit in this corner cannot be reached from this particular part of the out of bounds area. One area you can explore though is inside the Wormrest Temple. Nothing exciting here, just about what you'd expect. And at the end of the instance, normally you would end up at the bottom of the temple, but you cannot see this part. I call this an exploration victory. You're getting to a place that you normally could not get to. Oh yeah, if you use Door of Shadows in exactly the right place, you can fall through the non-Scarlet Pit as I showed in the intro. What fun. The scenery is amazing, but the chances of you getting stuck when you try to explore the Scarlet Pit are very high. That about wraps up this part of the out of bounds exploration. Next, we will return to the major out of bounds area and continue. In the last episode, we explored the Wrathgate, the Kaluak village, and some of the greater tundra. In this episode, we will be exploring the rest of the out of bounds area. It's a journey, so buckle up, grab some popcorn, hold on to your horses, and let's do this thing. The first area we will explore is this giant cave. It's fully textured, but completely empty. There's something ominous about exploring a cave like this. Though there was nothing in here, you never know when a secret might reveal itself to you. After exploring this part of the map, I explored Agmar's Hammer, the Horde city in the eastern part of the map, which I actually technically skipped in the first episode, because I wanted to move on with that video fairly quickly. Here's a clip that shows the area off. I don't care if you guys feel free to skip this segment using the chapters, because the area is similar to the real version. It is just completely abandoned. I want to be thorough in my videos though, and maybe someone will see something in this place that I did not. Next we will explore. Next we will explore the Not Scarlet Pit outside of the Azure Dragon Shrine. I skipped over this completely in the last video due to time constraints. It was the slightly more relaxed video. I wanted to showcase it here. This tentacle is glitching through a tooth. Not a sentence I thought I'd ever have to use. But yeah, let's travel to the Azure Dragon Shrine, which is obviously the coolest looking one. There is not a whole lot here, but the Azure Dragon Shrine is always amazing. All the ley lines of magic and everything, it just blows my mind. I head over towards the Bronze Dragon Shrine to check out the Not Scarlet Pit area over here. It's definitely an incredible sight, but it is hard to navigate. I don't tempt fate too much, as we know what would likely happen if I did break out of the bounds into the maw. Had a little bit of trauma from it. Instead, let's check out the Bronze Dragon Shrine. Absolutely amazing. It feels great being able to explore all of this. So much nostalgia is running through me. I almost feel like a kid again. Passing the Dragon Shrine, we traverse into the fairly dense forest towards the entrance of Zuldrak. But there's no staircase or anything, just abandoned troll ruin. I briefly explored them and discovered nothing too crazy. The untextured lake is quite interesting though, and the floating fish are creepy as heck, and enough to call this an exploration win, I guess. Now it's time to explore the Onslaught base camp briefly as we head towards the Naxxramas area. The camp is all here in all its detail, but we will continue exploring this area later. Let's explore the Carrion Fields first. It's here in all of its glory. You have Naxxramas above, you have the cauldron still boiling with plague, the fields are empty, and instead of the dead roaming over the place, the sense of sheer emptiness looms over the field. It's ominous, and it gives a bit of a what happened here kind of vibe. In one way, it's even creepier as there is no water in this river over here. It makes the area even quieter. It makes me wish I was still playing Wrath of the Lich King. I think everyone does wish that though, I mean, let's be honest. If there was a way to reach Naxxramas, I would love to figure it out, but as of now I had no way to get to it. When heading to the next area, I discover a bridge to nothing. Trying to traverse it will get you stuck, and so I decided not to mess with it anymore in this video. Thought I'd point it out though. Continuing alongside the river, I traveled to the Forgotten Shore, where it all started, where Arthas landed on the beaches of Northern. Sadly, I didn't bring supplies to traverse water quickly, but I went through and checked all the ships for anything interesting. Nothing crazy, but the final boat I explore has a music change. It's kind of neat, and I'm not sure if this is the same area that plays in the real version. I think it's time for something a bit more interesting. You guys know what's coming up. Yep, New Avalon. I don't even have anything to say about this. I'm just going to let you guys experience this. It's going to be a little bit sped up, and I'll have some music, and I have chapters just if you do not want to see the area. After New Avalon, I quickly ran through Venom Spite as well. Kinda creepy when it's completely abandoned. I then ran through the Emerald Dragon Shrine and explored that area a bit. All of the particle effects are still here, and it kind of feels like everything is okay, though we obviously know I'm completely not where I should be. I head out to the sea next, and again, I kind of beat myself up for not having water exploration equipment, and actually as recording this audio, I realized I probably should have fishing on my exploration character. Whoops. The only weird thing I saw was a random piece of seaweed sticking out of the water. Okay then. I tried my best to explore the open ocean, and there's definitely a ton of neat areas to explore here, but with fatigue and the potential of drowning, I really cannot explore as much as I wanted to. Maybe one day I can be an undead demon hunter and not have to worry about breathing. Gosh, what a horrible thing to have to do, breathe. After all this, I gave exploring the area a break and I came back later since I wasted so much time in the water. On my next run through, I head back over to the Onslaught base camp and begin exploring it a little bit more. When I tried to climb into these towers, something bizarre happened. My chat channel changed from the Hour of Twilight to Dragonblight. The game literally thought I was in Dragonblight. How strange is that? That means that the Hour of Twilight still contains location mapping to Dragonblight itself. It even says that I'm in the Scarlet Tower. I'm surprised they didn't remove this. Those of you familiar with this area know where I'm headed to. There's a certain infamous cave over here, Frostmourne Cave. Just as it was left all those years ago. Also, the mace still looks untextured. It's the same as in the real world, but why? The only thing missing in this cave is the actual pedestal that Frostmourne sat on. I'm so glad that I got to see this. After that amazingness, I returned to exploring the surrounding area. I explored the whole area up to and including a small sliver of the Grizzly Hills. From there, I head back to the Carrion Fields and I explore a few of the buildings. In the destroyed barracks, I found these two small skeletons, which I actually saw in my Scarlet Halls glitch. I was kind of shocked that they were in other parts of the game as well. I also found a place I've not been in for over a decade, the Winterguard Mausoleum. You'll notice that at the beginning it changed my channel to the Dragonblight again, and as a Horde player you may miss this place completely, if I remember correctly. But I used to have level 80 Alliance characters before I permanently became a Horde player. I had to explore the entire cave. If you want to skip the exploration of the cave, again, you can use the chapters below. Everything in here is also in the real one, but it's still very creepy. Especially this eye. Think of it this way. This eye has been here for almost a decade, trapped here, all alone. No one to experiment on him, no one to talk to, just alive, alone in the mausoleum. After exploring the mausoleum, what better way to continue our adventure than to explore the Durnholde Keep itself? You know the drill, I'm just going to show it off. Can we take a moment and enjoy the peaceful tavern music? In a completely empty world, there's still something heartwarming about this music. One of the last things I did on my second roundabout was try to explore more of the oceanside part of the map. I traveled over there and my game freaked out. When I logged back in, I was still underwater, but did not have a breath meter. I thought something was off, but I had to see if I broke WoW and got rid of the need for lungs. I explored as much as I could and then sadly randomly died. If this had actually worked, I may have discovered one of the best tools for out-of-bounds discovery. Maybe I'll look into this a little bit more. The second to final area we will explore is a very unique version of Wintergrasp. It's kind of like a destroyed Wintergrasp in a way. When writing the script for this video, I just decided to try and climb past the Wrath Gate. It took a long time to figure out exactly how to accomplish this, but I was able to find a few places to jump. While I was trying to figure out how to climb the gate, I accidentally discovered Angerthar, which was very strange, as well as jumping back and forth between the Dragonblight and Hour of Twilight general chat, just like at the towers and at the mausoleum. Freaking amazing. This is why my channel is focused on exploration. I love this stuff. there's a whole area above the Wrathgate. Eventually though, I fall, and I cannot get back up. My journey has ended, but there is one last area that we have not explored. That last area? The Crystal Song Forest area. I know that in part 1 I said I likely will not be able to explore this area in this video. I did not realize that I had only written the script and did not do the recording yet, so I was able to re-script the area in. The Crystal Song Forest was always one of my favorite looking zones in World of Warcraft, and here it is, left in an area that it most definitely should not be in. I hope you enjoy. Well, we did it. We explored the rest of the Out of Bounds area and the Hour of Twilight instance in the Caverns of Time. While most of the areas remain the same between the normal version and the Out of Bounds version, it was incredible being able to reach the Out of Bounds NPCs, the ghost towns, completely abandoned caves, Crystal Song Forest and all of its beauty, and of course the not completed Wintergrass. Next, I tackled on the Culling of Strathome. What an amazing dungeon to explore. This has to be one of my favorite places in all of World of Warcraft, as we can explore an old zone in a new light, and we get to see how the developers made the instance by splicing areas together. This is dungeon number 3 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. You know what makes an area difficult to explore? You might think it's invisible barriers or hardcore parkour, but really, it's this. I'm floating in air while standing. Makes it a bit difficult to tell what's going on. Thanks, Blizzard. Also, why is there a freaking rat all the way out here? Okay then. The Culling of Strathome is an instance that was introduced in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion and was one that I personally ran multiple times and is one of my personal favorites. Many people hated it though due to the wave and escort nature of the place. I don't really blame them, but I love the story of Arthas, and playing this instance always brought so much nostalgia at the time, and I could hardly stand it. Sometimes I would literally sit in here for hours just listening to the music after my group would have defeated Mal'Ganis.
This entire city must be purged.
Instead of completing the instance today, we search for a way to discover what lies beyond the invisible barrier. Here's how I discovered the glitch. At first I ran to the edges of the map, used my super exploration skills, and clicked randomly over and over. Then I clicked randomly with Metamorphosis and bang! Well, that was easy. In case you're wondering, all I did was stick to the path and head east, and I won't really go into detail how long it actually took me to discover this glitch. Before we get started though, I do want to say that Hidden Azeroth does have a video that has this particular instance in it. However, I didn't know that he had a video at that time. I recorded this months ago. Also, he had a druid that he used for the glitch, and I just was screwing around with a demon hunter, and you know, demon hunters are the glitchiest class in the game. It is time to explore! Traveling on this path, you can see the scenery start to change. While technically Arthas has not started the Culling of Strathome in this instance, the Plaguelands do seem to exist in this area. In a way, it kind of makes sense, as the plague was already happening when Arthas went to Strathome. I do not think that the designers intended for this to be the case, but it certainly adds character to the instance. We are in what should be the Eastern Plaguelands. There's destroyed buildings, bridges, plague wagons, all sorts of stuff. Now, I believe that some of the scenery is completely unique to the Culling of Strathome, such as this riverbed and destroyed camp. This other camp over here can be seen in the normal instance, but it cannot be reached by normal methods, and there's even a small graveyard here. I headed down to the south edge of the map to peek over the edge, and it looked like a typical out-of-bounds area. Continuing east near the southern border, I discovered a terrifying tree. I mean, just look at this thing. As well as a bridge over an empty riverbed. Sadly, the path ended, but I made my way to the other path that forked off earlier and continued north. There's some amazing scenery here, and it's just so weird seeing plague trees in an area that's so bright and beautiful and otherwise. They certainly don't fit. Eventually I ran into this weird looking house. How the heck does that foundation not crumble? The rest of the house sure did. While this area greatly resembles the Eastern Plaguelands, I don't think that this is supposed to be here. Continuing on, I see some weird buildings, and looks like they're troll in nature. Up on the hill, there's a larger camp with some cages included. How fun! When I hit the troll village, I also hit some mountains that I decided not to travel through, and instead just followed the mountain foothills, which then led me to a very familiar trail. There it is! It's the Ghostlands portal, an instance within an instance. I really honestly did not expect to find this here. What happens when I... Just kidding. There's a freaking bizarre pink-white bar though. What the frick is this? After that amazing discovery, I continued to traverse the foothills until I reached this tower. Unlike the towers in the Hour of Twilight, this tower can only affect the game by changing the music. Still pretty awesome, and even though there is nothing up here, it is a very beautiful view. After the view, I clearly needed to head into the mountains. Yes, this high elf area is still in here. Amazing. I could definitely see a role player using this area to build out their high elven lore. Sticking to the northwestern direction, you all knew we would eventually find the eastern Strathome Gate, but I was not expecting it to still have a portcullis that functioned. The music changes as you enter the area, and another instance can be seen. The Culling of Strathome contains not one, but 2 instances inside of it. You said they can't travel past the portal, but dang, what an amazing discovery. This instances is by far one of my favorites that we've explored, as of yet. Now it's time for a tad bit of parkour, but the mountains are not easy to navigate. Eventually I made it to the edge of the map and it's beautiful, but we still have much more to explore. I finally reached the actual dungeon area and got a back view of Strathome. Let's just say that it's a bit odd. Still, I went for it and I screwed up. Whoops. Can I just say that I love how you can explore the city without actually starting the dungeon run? Also, I really hope that this is removed, and I did eventually check and it is removed. But there's an NPC in here that used to be named Master Frost Siabi. This video was recorded months ago and I'm just now writing the script for it, but wow, that's bad. While I would love to explore more out of bounds parts of this map, it turned out to be quite difficult. The last part I tried to glitch through was the bookshelf that Arthas opens later during the dungeon. I was able to see past it, but I never got all the way through. On my next run through the out of bounds area in the Culling of Strathome, I found a random pot just inside the barrier. Okay. What a great discovery. In my third attempt, I traveled along the southwest edge of the area and explored a bit of this camp over here. It looked ominous with an empty home and a fire still lit and some plagued grain. Oh yeah, there's also a skull here. Okay. Heading pretty far west took me to a small decrepit town with abandoned buildings. Going to the inn changed the music to a very sad tone. It looks like the basement is textured but unreachable. Here's what the rest of the town looked like. Along my path to the north, I saw a weird misshapen cave and avoided it. But then on the other side, noticed that it was fully textured. I didn't even attempt to explore it though, as it looked janky as heck. There's one more area I want to explore in the Culling of Strathome instance a bit more before we explore the outer edge of the map. I will say that this was originally discovered by Hidden Azeroth, as I just watched his video as I was writing the script. I didn't know he had made a video about it. He has a full video in the out of bounds area, which I honestly did not see. But I figured I would show it off as well. I will link his video in the description if you want to see what he discovered. Watching his video, I learned that druids are also broken and that demon hunters make out of bounds exploration incredibly easy. I also learned that if you jump forward at this exact area in the mountains, you can reach the chapel from the undead side of Strathome. I explored the area a bit, but unlike most areas, there were absolutely no barriers to break my fall. So of course, I immediately make the mistake of trying to climb the wall. I will leave that area for all of you to explore because I may have missed this area like 3 times when I tried to jump towards it. Finally, last and kind of least, but also just last, I always put these white textures at the end if I can. We're going to explore the widest area you know. Starting off directly under Strathome, it's a bit wonky at first, but less so as you get further away. There's also a freaking rat up there. What the heck is up with these rats, I tell you? One thing I wanted to check out was a pink bar we saw earlier, and it just looks so weird. As per usual, I walked over to the edge of the map and took a good look at everything. There was an incredible view of the glitch wall, but that's really about it. Also, the classic stunt we have to try is... yeah, okay, this is fairly expected. There are plenty more out-of-bounds areas we have to explore, so please continue to stay tuned. The escape from Durnholde Keep. This here was technically the first time I purposefully escaped from an out-of-bounds area to make a full-length video, and it will go down in memory as one of my favorite discoveries. I know that other YouTubers got to this one before me, but I truly figured this one out on my own before I had watched those videos. This is dungeon number 4 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. Today we will be exploring another instance with massive lore importance, and we will attempt to escape from Durnholde Keep. Stay tuned for this one, as it is very interesting. The escape from Durnholde Keep is actually a pretty fun instance in my unpopular opinion. It's another dungeon that works as an escort quest, much like the Hour of Twilight that we explored in both episodes 2 and 3 of the series. You eventually have to escort Thrall out of the keep, and he moves very slowly. Many people do not like this mechanic, and I don't really mind it too much. One previously unique feature about this instance, as far as I'm aware, is that it takes place in an entire zone. Very few, if any, dungeons were set up this way prior to this instance. Now, I could be wrong on this, but it seems that way for sure. You can actually explore the whole entire outer area, and in some parts of South Shore contain very important lore as well. I recommend coming here just to explore the normal area. But that's not what you're here for, is it? You're here to see the entire out-of-bounds conglomerate that lies within this instance. I mean, there's multiple zones that you can explore here. Now, obviously, I am not the first person to explore this out-of-bounds area. Both YouTube channels, one called Senpai the Explorer and Hidden Azeroth, are both channels that have covered this instance, and they do show some stuff off that I may not. So I recommend watching their videos on the subject, as they both have different styles of videos. As for me, once again, I discovered this glitch before I knew anyone else had done a video on the instance already. I was just screwing around as I recorded this months ago, and I'm obviously going to have to re-record parts of it here or there. And I only realized that others had made videos on this place when I started writing the script. I did not watch their videos until after I finished the recordings and most of the script, so that way you have my genuine reaction to what I found. Their videos will be linked in the description. The only recommendation I would suggest before you attempt this glitch is to carry with you some inky black potions. This will make exploring the out-of-bounds area much more enjoyable. I actually had to go back and record some areas using the inky black potion because I watched Hidden Azeroth's video and he used them, and that was very smart of him to do that. Let's move on. How did I discover this glitch myself? Well, one day when I was bored of World of Warcraft and insanely curious, I decided that I was going to start exploring random maps throughout the game. When I hit level 60 on my Demon Hunter, I really had no desire to do any of the in-game content, and realized that with Door of Shadows, exploration would be incredibly easy. This instance was one of the very first ones I tried to explore, and was a second invisible barrier that I attempted to break past, second to breaking out of bounds behind Strathome, which can be watched on the channel if you are interested. It is one of my earliest videos though, so it's gonna be a little hard to watch. I apologize for that. I pretty much ran along the edges of the zone and attempted to metamorphose anywhere I could, as the spell, along with others like it, will allow you to sometimes jump past a barrier. Now, with all the fog, it was quite hard to see what was going on, but if you end up having the potion with you, it's much better. I tried this for a long time and failed to get out of bounds along the whole way down the barrier until I reached the ocean. Sometimes other areas allow you to glitch to the other side of the barrier in the water with little effort, but this time it seemed impenetrable. That is until I swam underwater, and voila! This little area here allowed me to fly through the barrier. We are out of bounds in the Caverns of Time instance, the escape from Durnholde Keep. You all know what that means. It is time to explore. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for that. Please. That was dreadful. The very first place I wanted to explore was the east. If you know your Azerothian map pretty well, you'll know that Gilneas and Silver Pine Forest lie in this direction. But how much is left in this instance? On the way there, I stopped at Purgaton Isle, or Purgation Isle, I guess it is. Now, if you have inky black potions, you should definitely use them at this point. I did not have them when I first explored the area, but if you do swim underneath the water, your visibility will greatly increase. Now, I went back and re-recorded this area, and I did use inky black potions, and it's much better. One thing that you'll immediately notice about this out of bounds area is that it is completely massive. They cut out a large chunk of the world in order to create this instance, just like they did to Dragonblight in the Hour of Twilight. One really cool thing about this area though is that it's technically no longer explorable in retail World of Warcraft because, well, the Cataclysm changed everything. And here we have the full version of the vanilla Hillsbrad foothills and some other areas that you'll see. Immediately upon arrival to the island, I found this table with some books and a shield in front of the gate. Now this area again was remodeled in Cataclysm, but this is what it would have looked like in the vanilla game, and you could probably find this in Classic WoW as well. The lore behind the isle is that it was filled with ghosts from the Silver Hand that were banished by the Paladin. It makes it a bit spooky knowing that this place was previously filled with ghosts and now it's completely empty. Be careful of falling here, as you'll have to come back to the eastern part of the island in order to keep exploring. In this part, you can actually find a statue of a paladin, followed by a pathway to the top of the island where you can see light posts, fences, and eventually you will reach this tower. There is a music change here, but nothing else too spectacular. Other than those things, I did not see much else on the island. So let's continue. So now, the first time I went through this area, I did not have an inky black potion, and so I had to traverse through the Fog of War, and it was quite difficult. But when I went back through the area using the potion, I actually discovered a mine over here. You would have completely missed this without the potion, well, unless you knew the area really well. I'll leave a short clip of that here if you want to check it out. If you travel beyond the mine, you'll see a tower to the left and a farm to the right. The farm is considered the Brazy Farmstead and has a variety of farms and orchards that you can explore. It's an incredible, neat, out-of-bounds exploration and gives us a great view of what lies ahead. Here's a quick montage of that area. This area obviously is similar to the vanilla version. However, you can't normally explore this area in retail, so I just think it's a really neat exploration. And when you go towards the west, you'll see this tower over here. It's pretty neat. There's a slight music change and nothing crazy about it, but you do get a good view of the area. Let's travel back eastward along the path until I reach the south front gate heading towards Silver Pine Forest. To get past the gate, I easily jumped on the right-hand side of the mountains and continued exploring the path. You'll notice that we are now in Silver Pine as the lampposts now glow ominously green. Here's where we run into and a second invisible wall. Great, but nothing that a Venthyr demon hunter cannot handle. I clicked around fairly randomly in order to find a little area to use Metamorphosis to fly out of, and after quite a bit of clicking, it did work. I reached the edge of the map and there's not a whole lot to see, except this broken light post. A suitable light post for the end of a broken path. I was really hoping that Gilneas would be here, but it's just a little bit too far south to be included. Instead of doing any backtracking, I wanted to head north to see what lies past Silverpine Forest, and I end up on the other path that heads north from the split off that we saw earlier, and continue to travel on the path for a bit. As we travel, we reach Ambermill Farms. Take a look. How cool is it to explore an area now no longer accessible in the actual game? Well, technically it does exist, but it was changed like most of the world in Cataclysm. And yeah, it does exist in Classic as well, but this is still incredible. As I traveled northward, something amazing happened here. The fog of war completely disappears. We are in Lordomere Lake, or at least what was previously Lordomere Lake. Now, if you had inky black potions, then you've already had a much better view than if you didn't, but almost the rest of the exploration will not be enveloped in the fog. The area is massive, so let's explore it. It's amazing to see all of this area with no water over. The fish don't seem to notice though, as they continue life like nothing is wrong. All of this is in the vanilla version of the map, but it is much harder to explore because of the, well, water. So even then, technically this area is still accessible in some form or another, but it's not explorable without the water. I traveled alongside the southern edge and checked out all of the Murloc huts until I reached the eastern edge of the map. Looking over, I can see part of a gold mine sticking out here. That's a bit unique. I've not seen that when looking over the edge before. Now, after I explore a tad more, I end up finding Fenris Isle. And I just realized something at this point though. The air isn't murky or plaguey. So once again, the exploration is even more unique as it's Lordomere Lake without the water, and it's also bright and colorful. And the place is quite interesting to explore. I noticed a weird skeleton sticking out of the ground, which is pretty neat. Now I traveled around the lake a little bit more until I reached this house here. Now the music changed like it does quite often in these buildings, but for some reason it was even more peaceful than normal. I feel like if I was an avid RPer, I would choose this place as my primary location. An alternate universe of Azeroth where I look over the infinite ocean in what used to be the Lordmere Lake. I mean, yes, there are floating fish, but that's a minor detail. Next, after a small amount of parkouring, we travel westward, and by this point, if you know the area pretty well, you'll know that we are officially in the Alterac Mountains and can fully explore the Alterac ruins. Join me in this exploration. Can I just say that I love the music change when you run out of the barracks? It's an old song, but still to this day one of my favorites in World of Warcraft. The last part of this area is this cave. I love the music change here as well, but I think that this cave is actually where you saved Metzen the reindeer during the holiday events. Could be wrong about that though, I'm not entirely sure. Now we leave the Alterac Mountains and head westwards. Along the river to the south, I notice a troll village. I quickly look through it and then I travel up the river northward. Weirdly, it just kinda ends. It's a bit strange, but okay. Traveling all the way north leads to the edge of the map If we look around towards the east, we can see some dwarven ruins in the background. Before we head that direction though, there's an area I wanted to explore after having watched Hidden Azeroth's video. He went westward at this point, and if you continue west, you'll actually reach Uther's tomb. He notes that the whole area was completely redone in Cataclysm, and this is what Uther's tomb looked like before the Cataclysm. Not only that, but you can also explore a little bit of the graveyard here. That means that the Western Plaguelands is also included in the map, another zone that we can explore, partly, of course. Now that the western area is covered, should we head east and explore those dwarven ruins? Well, duh, of course we should. Note, I recommend that if you are going to keep exploring at this point, you may want to save this area for last, as it is very difficult to get back up to this area. Now, I traveled west into the mountains a bit, and I found it difficult to parkour compared to the rest of the map. Just be careful in this area, it seems to be a place that can really trap you. There's a strange invisible wall here that used to be a pond, and I recommend sticking to the left side of it. I'll show my exact path to the area. And bang, there we are, Airy Peak in half its glory. Shall we explore? I jumped down, and here's a warning. Be careful about what buildings you explore in the area, because the inside of the buildings are not completely mapped and they lead into a solid wall. But I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, I did get stuck in one of them when I first explored the area. Watch your step. Here's where I hit my first major issue with exploring. If you continue on this path here, it leads to an invisible barrier. It's not good. I tried Metamorphosis and Door of Shadows multiple times and ways, but nothing seemed to work. The only way to continue was some incredibly precise parkour. I actually stopped recording for a bit because I was taking so long to actually perform this jump. But basically, you'll need to reach this point, and then you'll jump all the way to the other mountains. When you accomplish that feat, you'll have to continue making it around the mountain, and then when you accomplish all of that, you'll see the first glitch texture on a journey. Typically, these out of bounds areas are flooded with these textures, but this area is the only place with weird textures in our journey so far. You'll kind of notice that we are directly above Durnholde Keep now. Obviously, falling to the keep would bring me back into bounds. I think there's actually an invisible barrier that would block me from doing that. But I don't want to do that like I did in the Terrace of Endless Spring. That was, oh man, I was so sad. Instead, I stick to the northern mountains and glide down towards Arathi Highland. I explored this little farm here, but I cannot remember the name of it. It's pretty simple, but it is interesting to look at least. Now let's head over to Stormguard Keep. You'll notice something a bit off about the keep, as typically there are walls surrounding it. But the keep is instead surrounded by weird textures. Kind of strange, but when you head far enough around the keep, the fog of war does come back here. Makes me a bit nervous, as the first time I explored this area I didn't have inky black potions, so I headed into the keep itself, knowing that I won't get stuck or fall anywhere. Well, here it is, Vanilla Stormguard Keep in all of its glory. There's quite a bit to see here, and thankfully it isn't all trapped in a fog of war. So I'm gonna just show off the area, and feel free if you know what this place looks like from Vanilla Wealth, you can skip this. It's fine. Now the last place I explore in the keep is the church, and behind it is the crypt of the former King of Stormguard. Weirdly, this place is a crypt in game, but here it's covered. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's quest related or what, but also when you walk over it, the music quickly changes. Nothing too weird or anything, but definitely something to note. That's it for the Stormguard Keep exploration. Now again, things here get pretty tricky. I head behind Stormguard and into the Fog of War. The best thing to do here is to check your surroundings as best you can. If you're not able to use an Inky Black Potion, then use the minimap as your guide. I follow the path back here fairly closely. There's actually a cave here, and thankfully it was traversable, so I continue on this path until I hit the water. If you don't have an Inky Black Potion, you can go under the water and you'll have a much higher visibility, and you're able to see a whole lot farther. So I headed westward, and then the Fog of War does clear up. I continued, and there is this little pirate alcove with a ship. I'm at the point again that if I was an RPer, this would be absolutely perfect. That makes two perfect RPer locations in the South of Mountains area. I could have my own cave and this pirate ship, and this time I'd be able to sail the infinite ocean. What a neat little area this is. Be careful with this cave back here though, as you can get stuck here fairly easily. It's right at the border, so technically you should not be able to traverse it. So sadly, that's the end of the south and west border. Before I travel to the last area that I want to show off, I also want to make note of something very strange in the instance. There, for some reason, is a map of the Caverns of Time here. How and why is this here? And more importantly, can it be explored? If you know any more information on this strange occurrence, please let me know in a comment. I mean, I tried my best to figure out a way to explore this place, but I couldn't get into it. Well, I didn't see anything else noteworthy in the area, so I had one last place that I wanted to show off in this video. That would be the former Dalaran area. Now this is a vanilla World of Warcraft instance, so there shouldn't be a crater. Before, there used to be a giant purple shield over Dalaran, before it was moved to Northern, of course. So what's left here in the instance? Traversing back along the mountains was treacherous and inconvenient, and I could understand someone just resetting and starting again instead of trekking back through the mountains, but I went for it. After passing back through Alterac Mountains, I found it. It's pretty strange looking, and there's no purple shield or craggy terrain, and instead it's just a circle of dirt with ruined buildings all around it. I'm going to just show you what I explored. That's the entire out-of-bounds zone for escaping Durnholde Keep. We traverse through the Hillsbred Foothills, we traverse through Silverpine Forests, we traverse through Alterac Mountains, and we traverse through part of the Hinterlands, as well as finally coming back to Arathi Highland. The Well of Eternity has to be one of my favorite dungeons in World of Warcraft as well, due to the lore and aspect of this area, and its ties to the Book of the Well of Eternity. That series is fantastic, and it's one of my favorite series in all of fiction writing. This is dungeon number 5 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. Well, I really don't think that this is supposed to be how the fight goes. I think it's missing something. Here we look at the Well of Eternity. I just want to say that the lore of the Well of Eternity is absolutely fantastic. It's the basis for the Burning Legion invading Azeroth for the very first time. The books by Richard A. Canuck, I guess that's how you pronounce his last name, I'm not sure, are incredible, and I recommend anyone to read them. Well, what we are doing today, you don't really have to read any of the books, and instead you'll just need to clear the instance up to the point where you reach the actual well. Now, if you watch Hidden Azeroth's video on this place, you'll see that there's another way to get out of bounds here, but I recorded this video before I watched his, and yeah, so I didn't realize you could do that. But anyway, once you reach this area, while I recommend finishing the instance, you really don't need to do that. Instead, if you want to see what truly lies inside of the well, then you'll need to travel to the west and start climbing. After a couple double jumps, you'll be able to make it to this area with relative ease. Now, keep jumping and you can actually fall into the well, and you'll unveil that it's just a disguise. There's actually a chaotic whirlpool underneath the well. It looks gorgeous, and the portal to the twisting nether still dominates the visual landscape as well. It's quite mesmerizing, to be honest. Now, I personally don't recommend doing this, but if you do jump down here, you'll get some amazing views. However, you will not be able to return to the main area, at least as far as I could tell. The inside of the whirlpool is strangely yellow, and there's a very deep pit here. When I tried to escape the area that I willingly dropped into, there wasn't much else I could do except continuously fall until I could restart my out-of-bounds exploration. The view of the well is quite worth the trouble though. When I jump back into the instance, I ran over to the north of the same area, and as you can see, there's a massive city in the out of bounds area. Zinashari, the former capital of the Night Elves, the largest civilization in the history of Azeroth. Now, in the northern area, I could not find a way past the barrier, so instead I attempted to fly past the border by going across the well. Big mistake, 10 out of 10 would not recommend. I regathered my thoughts and decided to jump around the mountains in the south. If you jump in this exact area, you can easily reach the upper parts of the mountains and we are free. Anyway, I hope you all know what that means by this point. It's time to explore. Yeah. I started off just kind of blown away that this whole area is explorable. It is gorgeous, and I decided to just take a stroll through the forest. If you head to the northeast, the forest changes from just dead trees to a fiery inferno caused by the Legion. When exploring this area, I had chills all over, and while writing the script, I'm still getting chills. I've always wanted to explore this area. Well, I couldn't wait any longer, and I decided to start exploring the city. I found a little house here and a strangely floating building that looked very weird. Probably a normal night elf thing. But in contrast to that floating building, there's another one halfway in the ground. I continued on it and there's fire just everywhere. Thankfully, it doesn't damage you when you travel through it. I kind of just wandered through these houses and destroyed buildings for a bit, as I didn't know how I would be able to explore all of this area. It's just amazing. These tree buildings look pretty normal on the inside. I'm not sure if they're specifically tailored for this instance or not, but if they are, that's even weirder that they have all the detail. Using my Demon Hunter skills, I was able to jump to the top of the building for a better look at my surroundings. Incredible! After looking around a bit, I decided to travel to the next level of the city. Here there is a destroyed elven statue and a few more destroyed buildings. I continued up the path and found even more destroyed buildings, of course, and heading up the staircase led to even more buildings. Crazy! This particular building is interesting because, as far as I'm aware, they are completely unique to this instance. There's nothing in them, but they are really interesting to see. Now, I traveled back around the wall and decided that since there is no path on the other side of the city, I would just see what the lower wilds had to offer. It's a weird ledge with what seems to be a traversable pathway. Beyond the pathway though, the clouds spin in a whirlpool. It seems symbolic because of the swirling of the well. What a beautiful area. Now it's time for some old-fashioned exploring. Sit back, relax, and see what the world has to offer. Normally I won't include large areas and montages, but this one felt like it deserved to be shown off. There's such a sense of mystery, sadness, and beauty in this forest. Finally, I come to this area that looks kind of burnt. When I climbed onto the ridge, I found out that I'm just past the main instance area. There's also a floating lily pad here. Kind of weird. I decided to travel west in order to start exploring the other side of the city. At this point, I can see the city and it's a beautiful view. Now there's a couple difficult jumps here, but I did manage to make it. These towers are pretty neat, and we arrive at a whole slew of buildings in the main palace area of the map. There are also these massive platforms with a ton of trees on them. Quite well designed. One weird thing to mention with the buildings is that when you enter them, the music completely stops. Typically, there's some sort of music related to the buildings even in the out-of-bounds areas, but in this case there's no music. I think that's because they were uniquely created for this instance and have no music mapping. Here you can see the other side of the gate, and it's weird seeing it from this angle because you're not really supposed to be able to. Well, I decided to do something a bit crazy, and I checked every single house in order to see if any of them contain anything at all. None of them seemed to, so I just carried on with exploring, and as I traveled, you also see this gate too. Now, at the edge of the gate, that's called a wall, son. We see where I had to stop exploring on the other side of the map. I tried to get back to the other side, but just miserably failed. In a way, it turned out to be a blessing though, because I was able to explore the rest of the lower area of the city. I checked more of the towers out as well and looked through all of them, because if I was going to hide something, I would definitely hide it in one of these towers. When I jumped off of this one, I headed for this wall and luckily dodged getting stuck. For now. Foreshadowing. But yeah, the wall isn't solid. Now, I continued exploring the buildings quite thoroughly. I ended up seeing this area here, which is incredibly janky, and the buildings keep clipping in and out of the view. I avoid this area because of the uncertainties that may accompany it. I do not want to get stuck at this point. Again, foreshadowing. Oh, this building. Now, I hate this building. I really thought that there would be something hidden in here because it was hard to reach, but I absolutely could not get into it. Looking back at this, I could easily have used Vengeful Retreat, but instead I got slightly distracted and yeah, I fell. I fell. Oh boy, I don't think this one will be easy to get out of. In my next round of exploring, I kind of just clean up any areas I left out, such as the outer edges of the map. Looking beyond the edge is incredible with all the trees sticking out below. And of course, if you try to get past the edge, you will get stuck. I then explored more of the outer areas, and I did find something interesting out here. I found what looks to be a designer's paintbrush. Look at this. It's really neat, and I feel as though I can understand what the designer was doing. I'm really glad that I kept on exploring the area. Well, that's really it for Zinashari. I'm glad that I was able to show off this gorgeous area, and after exploring this and finding all these cool areas, I feel more connected to Azeroth due to exploring such an ancient land, and I feel even more connected to the developers who made the instance by finding their paintbrush in the Outer Wilds. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm glad that people are liking these videos. They take a lot of time to make, and I enjoy making them, but man, it is nice to see that people actually do like them. So please keep up the support. I really appreciate it, guys. And I hope you enjoyed exploring the Well of Eternity in the Caverns of Time with me. Game on Crafter. Over and out. The battle for Mount Hyjal is considered to be one of the worst raids in WoW's 18-year history. But I never did the raid back in BC, so funnily enough, I only have fond memories of this place when I went with a group of friends during Wrath and went through it with ease. This place is massive, so let's see what I found. This is dungeon number 6 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. Hyjal, a place that held mystery for many, many, many years in World of Warcraft. It was previously a Night Elf haven where the World Tree Nordrassil sat for many thousands of years. That is until Warcraft 3 and the second invasion of the Burning Legion occurred, and Archimonde destroyed the tree along with losing his own life. Who says wisps are useless? Today, we don't need to know so much about the lore, as we really only need to know the history of exploring the area. Up until the Cataclysm, Hyjal was an inaccessible area that few had ever wandered into. There are quite a few people that have videos on this area pre-Cataclysm and in classic World of Warcraft, but obviously the zone is completely updated now and there really isn't much of a mystery left to the area. Except for the Firelands, I did make a video about that quite a while ago. If you do want to see the Out of Bounds area in the Firelands raid, you can check out that video if you want. Anyway, one of the best videos showing off the old version of Hyjal is by Haven Games. They showed off the entire area, including the coolest part of the area, the Skeleton of Archimonde. There will be a link to that video below. Obviously, this task of exploring this area is almost impossible to accomplish now, as in Classic they've tried to patch up all of the ways to get into the zone. The YouTuber Megason Ford does have a video that shows that they did not do this perfectly, just like in the Brawlers Guild in Orgrimmar. So if you want to perform this exploration in Classic Hyjal, you can do it by watching his video. Now, in retail World of Warcraft Shadowlands, the only way to explore what the zone looked like before the Cataclysm is to try and break out of bounds in the Battle for Mount Hyjal instance, which is exactly what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Before I break too far out of bounds though, did you know that you can actually head into the undead base here? I never raided in the Battle of Hyjal before I could solo the raid myself, as I started playing TBC and didn't raid until Wrath of the Lich King. But even after soloing the raid many times for reputation, I never knew that you could actually travel to the undead base. So the first area I show off will be just that. I'm not sure if it's well known, and if it is, then please leave a comment explaining if anyone ever tried to battle through these enemies. There are tons of enemies all around, and so of course I kill all of them, and notice when you enter these buildings, the music does change to undead themes. You can even explore this crypt here, and it's fully detailed. As I was about to leave the area, I noticed that the enemies respawn pretty quickly. Weird that enemies in an instance respawn like this, and sadly, they don't drop many sweet loots. Now that this area has been explored, let's see if we can't get past these invisible barriers down here. And here's where I found a major issue with getting out of bounds in the Battle for Hyjal. It's janky as heck. The first place I tried was in the Southern Pass, beyond the Undead Buildings and Novell there. I tried many other places as well. One promising area though was the Human City. There's this tower and a wall here with a small mountain range to the left of it, but weirdly enough, when I did get past the wall by climbing the mountain, I became completely stuck after very hopeful progress. Quite unfortunate. So I don't recommend trying this area either. After much exploring the area, I discovered a little cliff that was able to be climbed, and here we are. We finally caught a break in our journey. Let's get up to the high ground so that we can scout the area. It's time to explore! I initially stuck to the mountains to try and keep a height advantage for scouting out neat or different looking areas. But sadly, I failed this jump. At this point, I knew that we had a massive out of bounds area to explore. I continued in the mountains and tried to keep a close watch on the map as to where I was. As soon as I was about to finally head to the lower level of the map, I noticed in the corner of my eye a Night Elf ruin in the distance, but sadly I did not execute the jump as well as I should have. We'll be back there later. Continuing west along the mountains, I started to see some pretty unique scenery. A cave? What is that doing here? Knowing how caves can be in out of bounds area, I scouted what was behind the cave and decided that it was just best to travel over the mountains instead of risking cave exploration. For those of you who don't know, caves can be pretty dangerous in out of bounds areas. I made a pretty risky jump, and at the time of recording this, I was not as skilled at these explorations as I am now, so I fell pretty far. I recorded some of these instances months ago. I mean, I had this series thought up a long time ago before I really committed to YouTube. Note that this instance is one of the last ones that I've recorded for almost a year. There are still a couple more, so the gear changes that I made in the Brawlers Guild won't be visible until I think my next video, but we'll see about that. After the pretty far fall, I was able to make it back to the top of the sledge above the cave with my Demon Hunter skills with a Z. Yeah, I'm hip. What? What is this place? As far as I could find, there doesn't seem to be much information about it. The area looks almost obsidian, similar to Demonfall Canyon in Ashenvale. I think it's supposed to be Dark Whisper Gorge from classic Winterspring. Tim's Variety channel also did a video on the area, and that's what he mentioned. I'm not too sure if his method still works for getting into classic Hyjal, but definitely give it a watch, it's a pretty good video. Anyway, the Hyjal area looks completely different since the Cataclysm. The lower area that we are currently exploring is completely covered in Twilight's Hammer camps and the Firelands itself. Let's jump down to see what lies in this demonic land. These towers look nothing like anything I've ever seen in the game, and this cave here I think would be the original entrance to Hyjal if they ever released it in vanilla. On the other side, the cave is blocked off as I suspected, but if you walk close enough to it, the music does change and it changes to a cave sound. The minimap actually shows that you're in a cave. Weird. This area may be a new favorite of all the out of bounds areas that we've explored so far. I hopped back up on the mountain ledge and checked out the other side of the cave. There isn't a way in on this side either, and even when using Door of Shadows, one of the most broken spells in all of World of Warcraft, I could not get past the rocks. Let's now traverse the lowlands of Hyjal. Eventually we run into more lands that look corrupted, and as you can see ahead, there are even more bizarre towers. Am I imagining that these show up in no other place in the game? Let's continue before I get too creeped out. Finally, when I got to a point nearing the actual raid, I jumped down to these off-path areas and explored them as well. If you're familiar with the Cataclysm version of Mount Hyjal, then much of the landscape will probably be familiar to you. It definitely has similarities. After making my way back to the canyon, I climbed up the rocks on the southern side of the mountains and climbed back all the way to the western side of the map. Traveling along these mountains, I eventually found a small nook with what looked like skeletal remains and some kind of pillar. I made the decision whether to jump or not, and instead I walked a bit further north. At this point I could see beyond the barrier what looked like Winterspring, and then changed my mind about not jumping down. At this point I thought, I'm probably going to have to make multiple exploration trips here no matter what I do. So I jumped down, and this is just incredible. These geysers are incredibly strange looking. This skull here looks like that of a dragon, and this tower is very weird. The other skeleton here must also be part of a dragon. Now, I knew that this would likely be the case, but I cannot get back up to the main area, so instead I tried to fly towards whatever can be seen past this wall, and it didn't work. So again, I did what any great explorer must do. Time for a fresh restart. Let's go for that Night Elf ruins that we saw before. I make a much more concentrated and deliberate attempt to stay atop the mountains. I jump past the wall of the human stronghold and then move further down into the mountains, until here we are, a lone night elven ruin, similar to the one I found when I broke out of bounds over Strathome and beyond the city. You can check out that video if you want, but it is my first video that I ever put effort into, and so it's a bit, you know, it's aged, it's aged, but you know, it's still got some good information in it, and it's pretty interesting. There are fully lit lampposts here and a few benches. This just begs the question as to why this whole area was so detailed in classic World of Warcraft, and it was never used. I wonder why that is. Was it just for mystery? Was it just Blizzard knew that people were going to explore this area? I don't know. But again, I performed the Great Explorer's Plunge and start over since we've seen the whole lower section. Now, I tried to glitch out of bounds in the Orc camp and head to the farthest reaches in the north, into Winterspring. It was a long way down. Very long. I still stuck along the mountains for a bit before fully committing to reach the bottom, just in case the mountains held a secret. Strange textures abounded, but no secrets were there other than that. I decided to fly as far west as possible before landing in order to try to make the most out of this life. It's still a very long way down. We fly so far west that we are actually in Felwood. Let's begin exploring the zone, shall we? The path I follow here instantly leads to a Night Elven ruin. And turning around reveals that we are actually at the Iron Tree Woods. How amazing is it that this place was still included? I mean, that's pretty awesome. The 3 ancient protectors are frozen in time as always, except they are no longer surrounded by the plague aura. This tree is definitely still plagued. The river here, while there is no river, still has plagued waterfalls continuously pouring into nothing. Let's continue on. Typically, to get from Felwood to Winterspring, you must traverse the Timbermaw Hold. Yet these furbolgs made their tunnel farther down the way in an area that is not included in Hyjal, so we're at a luck. Once again, I must enact my great exploration skills and restart my journey. Again, I break out of bounds in the Orc area, climb the mountains, and instead of traveling to the west, I head to the east. It is mind-blowing how far that I fall here. In real time, it's about 3 minutes just to reach this branch. Seeing these frozen branches and tree roots are amazing. Obviously this stuff exists in Winterspring, but something about not being able to fly makes exploring this area much more intriguing. Seeing this place like this makes me take in much more of the actual detail that went into the design of Winterspring, and how Nordercell literally entangles itself with the mountains. There are quite a few Night Elven ruins, and beyond them are some hot springs. The bubbles coming out of the ground are quite strange if I do say so myself. Looking past the border allows me to see all the trees sticking out of the ground and helps me realize that even more of Felwood is traversable here. So I head up the mountains and I jump down, and the classic version of the Talon Branch Glade is still here, and even has its hippogriff. Entering the house changes the music, the first we've seen in this glitch other than the cave from the lowlands. After a ton of climbing, I did make my way partially back up the mountains and took flight once again. I realized that there was more to see in the south, but instead of making it to the next area, I jumped over the edge by accident and realized that for once there was not an invisible barrier cutting us off from further exploration. You thought the fall from Hyjal to Winterspring was a lot? It's even a farther fall from Felwood to the outer ledge. Just incredible. There's an outer edge strip along the outside of the Hyjal raid. Sadly, it's only on the western side of the map, and I took a good look at the instance above, and well, yeah, that kind of ends another stretch of the Hyjal exploration. The final area I explored was the rest of the Felwood area that we saw before. To get here, I started the over and climbed as high as possible in these mountains and flew across the entire map. I landed in an area where I could continue climbing the wall and get to the other side of the Felwood. Well, it's another long way down. And when I finally hit the ground, I was able to find the Emerald Sanctuary. On the other side of the area was the ruins of Morlos Arad. The nostalgic raid of the battle for Mount Hyjal has now been fully explored. I may have missed some areas, but I think for the most part I gave it a good try, and who knows, it could take hours to just explore the rest of the map. The In Time was sadly a raid I never did as well. I never really played any of the in-game content when Cataclysm was the main expansion, but going back and playing through this was quite amazing. A future Dragon Blight concept is very cool. So this is dungeon number 7 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. The End Time. We went from where it all started back to Warcraft 3 in Hyjal, and now to a supposed End Time where Deathwing destroyed most of Azeroth and then was driven insane by the old gods.
Madness will consume you!
And ended his own life atop the Morass temple. This glitch covers a lot of area in Northrend, just like the Hour of Twilight videos that you can watch in my Caverns of Time glitch series playlist. Just like in those two videos, I don't have much time to waste in this video. Well, that's freaking good, because to start this glitch all you need to do is jump over this rock at the very beginning of the instance and you're out of bounds. Time to explore by jumping straight down into the Dragonborn Way. Now, I did say Dragonborn there, I meant Dragonbone, but you know, same thing. When down here, you can explore all of the wreckage of what appears to have been a massive battle between Deathwing and the Horde races of Azeroth. Looks like we lost this one. One thing kind of unique about End Time is that there is no music, and so walking into the command center of the Horde airship is the first time that you'll be able to hear any music in the instance. Definitely a pretty cool wreckage that we can explore. Over to the south, there's also a down Zeppelin. After seeing all of that wreckage, I could not help but get closer to Deathwing's corpse and admire the team's sheer talent in setting the scene for the lore. When you're close in the base of the Morass temple, if you jump into the lava, you will receive minor burn damage with a stacking debuff, but at level 60, it really didn't seem to affect me that much. At this lava crater, if we look up, we can witness one of the most amazing views in World of Warcraft exploration history. The broken body of Deathwing spilling his magma insides into the Morass temple and melting away the foundation. I am blown away by the scene. Oh yeah, the inside is perfectly unharmed. I jumped down to check the basement of the temple and it looked like just a cliff. However, getting closer to the cliff reveals that the basement is fully textured, but it is not explorable. After that, I headed towards Venomspite, and lo and behold, it's here just as it is in the Hour of Twilight and in retail. I don't really spend too much time here, as it's exactly the same as the live version, and minus the inhabitants of course, but you know, that's a minor detail, not really that important.
Gee, thanks.
Heading past Venomspite on the southern pathway takes us to the edge of the map, and from here we can also see the Forgotten Shore. Here's something interesting though, all these ships seem to be updated and textured differently, and at least that's what I thought. I looked through all of these ships, and while updated there were still no sunken treasure.
Damn the luck.
Traveling along the shore, New Avalon is clearly visible at the top of the ledge, and when we hit this dock, the ship near the shore is strangely sunk. This actually surprised me because in both retail and in the Hour of Twilight, the ship can be fully explored. Now my dreams of sailing into the Forgotten Shores and an out-of-bounds area are destroyed. How terribly sad. When heading up to New Avalon, there's a stark change in the sky. It becomes black, deep, and starry. And this is because of the scenery whenever you're attacking Tyrande, Whisperwind, and the Emerald Dragon Tribe. It's pretty interesting. Now, I'll let you guys explore this area. Feel free to use the timestamps to jump ahead on any of the montages, though an interesting note when exploring New Avalon, the basement of the barracks can be explored. Now, I do realize it's pretty much the same as the retail version, but that doesn't make it any less creepy. It's still pretty creepy. Before I move on to any specific areas, I wanted to show off a view unique to the Emerald Dragon Shrine area. With the incredible sky overhead when you are near the shrine, if you look towards the temple, you can view one of the best skylines in Azeroth's future. I was thrilled when I saw this. When moving on, I kinda just take in my surroundings. I did find a bunch of bones in this area and I feel like they were not here in the live version. I could be wrong on this. I know that the developers really did take a bit of time to make this Out of Bounds area pretty unique, despite the instance being relegated to encompassing only the dragon shrines. This outer area is pretty detailed. They got dead trees and all kinds of stuff. Continuing on, I see that Milwaukee Harbor is still here. There's a friendly green creature missing from the harbor, but this little orca will do, I guess. He's pretty cute. I walk through the rest of the town and both the wyvern and the griffin are still at their post. Let's relax for a minute and take in the music that still plays in these buildings. It's been a long journey, and we still have a long way to go. Moving past the harbor and into the forest, you can see that all the trees are dead and they look burnt to a crisp. Of course, the hovels themselves do not look very different, but in contrast, the Durnholde village is completely different. Normally the village has a lake in the center of it, but in the end time there isn't a lake at all. Also no floating bodies. I'm a bit disappointed here, Blizzard. The dead fish did get to stay though, so that's good at least. While exploring the village, I went to the coast to see the briny pinnacle, and as I checked this area out in the hour of twilight, though I really doubt that there would be anything interesting here. So I finished exploring the village and then continued west. Heading west revealed that the Lothalar woodlands is also in the instance, and it looks strange with the color palette of end time. I decided to jump towards the glistening strand afterwards. The Surge Needle, of course, is just past it, and it looks incredible as usual. Just past the Night Elf Ruins is the Western Barrier. Seeing all these areas was well worth the traveling all the way out here. There was a lot to take in. At this point I went to the north and I looked over the edge and there's a great view of the forest from underneath. There's trees, so that's great. The next step on our journey is Ice Mist Village. With the current texture palette, the area looks just bizarre. I had to explore the lower area because it's a place I vividly remember exploring when I was a teen looking for secrets. There's nothing to see here but amazing waterfall effects with water flowing into air, I don't know. Next let's look for Hyjal. It's here, the entire cave section. I was quite surprised by this because most cave systems are unexplorable when in an out of bounds area. Like in the battle for Mount Hyjal where there was a cave that just had a wall in front of it. I looked all around the area to see what's all here, and everything that would be in retail is available to explore, including an interactable meeting stone. You can even explore the entire entrance of An-Kahet, the Old Kingdom. Sadly, there is an invisible barrier that would lead into Hyjal. I didn't really get past it, but I had a feeling that I wouldn't have been a good idea to anyway. So after leaving that amazing area, I started for Agmar's Hammer, and it looks the same as it does in retail. You can pretty much explore all of the houses, and there are a few music changes, just like at New Evla, though there's really no major damage or changes to the city itself. As I moved towards the east, I discovered a massive dragon skull. Was this here in the normal zone? I'm not really sure. Next, it's time for the Wrathgate. The whole area is included here, and I will say it looks very strange with the colors of end time. The purple just looks off to me. Sadly, when I walked up to the gate, I tried to use Door of Shadows at the base, but it doesn't seem like you can get beyond the barrier here. I mean, you can't in retail, you can't in any other version of this instance, so it was worth a shot. As I was walking up this path, I saw the horde base to the right, but got a little distracted by what appears to be Dalaran. Yeah, it's Dalaran along with the Crystal Song Forest area included. How amazing. Immediately I jumped down to explore Crystal Song Forest. There's the arcane shield that can be seen in retail World of Warcraft, and this hut here contains a very suggestive male mage. Guess it's fine for men to look at like this in paintings, just not women according to Blizzard. Just kidding, of course. I still think it's funny that they turned women into fruit though. It's kind of weird. Here is Crystal Song Forest in all its glory. What a serene and beautiful area, especially without the music. Just a storm sounding off in the distance. Once I was done with Crystal Song Forest, I decided to start a fresh exploration and travel all the way to Durnholde Keep. It's all here, tavern music included. It's amazing how empty and alive this whole out of bounds area feels. I mean, there's no music except for whenever I'm inside a building. It's almost like there are spirits attached to the buildings, leaving their memoirs for me to experience. Beyond the city, you can see Scourge wagons coming up the city wall, and that pretty much ends the eastern side of the map. There is no Naxxramas, there's no carrion fields, and there's no mausoleum either. Apparently they did not want us to explore the caverns in this instance. Other than that, there is a human statue and a mine for me to explore. The music changes, but there's sadly no gold to be found. heading up this path, you'll discover a little area with a boat with mounted guns, an outhouse, and a small hut. I don't ever remember seeing this in retail, but it is apparently there in retail. I checked. Jumping from the mountain, there is a small Scarlet Onslaught shrine, and since we are so close to the boundary, we can see what the entire structure looks like. The Scarlet Onslaught base is all here, but a major difference between that version and this one is that Frostmourne Cave isn't even included in the place. This tower over here still changes your location mapping from the end time to Dragonblight, which is strange and weird as usual. Finally, I left all of those amazing areas and headed to the edge of the Path of the Titans. It's time to focus on something quite important that we saw earlier. Dalaran. Can we reach it? The only way I could ever see us reaching the city is to climb to the very top of the tallest mountain. Time for some real parkour and mountain climbing. I'll say that this is some of the hardest parkouring and climbing that I've had to do in a while. I stuck to the left of the mountains most of the time, but there is a slightly easier way to the right of the mountains. It doesn't really matter though, as the path will continue going up the mountain either way, just one's harder than the other. When I finally arrived near the top, I looked to the left and we can see Wintergrasp in the distance. Amazing. But before we head there, we need to do something else that takes priority. Can we jump to Dalaran? Let's try. Yes, after a long journey, you can actually get to Dalaran, and the chat channel changes to Dalaran. You can explore the entire base of the area, well, half of it. Just be careful because the minimap does not show you where the edges are in the out of bounds area, and it's easy to become stuck at the edge of the map. I'll let you in on a little secret. You actually can explore the city, and that exploration will be a separate video than this one. That's the bonus I was talking about earlier. I think an entire major sanctuary deserves its own video. It's freaking Dalaran. As soon as that video is out, the description and the end panel will link the video and a card will appear at the top of the screen. Before I wrap up the end time exploration by jumping off the Dalaran floating city, I jumped down to the floating rocks and I discovered the floating rocks of Dalaran, so it does count as an exploration here. The end to the end time exploration. I jumped to the left instead of the right of the mountain and floated all the way down to Wintergrasp. It's a bit of a glide, and it looks like when I landed here I found what looks to be part of a PvP base. Continuing on, the area is very desolate and there's destroyed war machinery all around and a small little alliance base here with some griffins. The water is not included in the lake, but the icebergs are. This is actually weird because the Induli village did not include any of the icebergs that are normally in the lake. So I wonder why they weren't included there but are included here. Weird inconsistency there. The little goblin rockets scattered throughout the world added a little bit of life to the exploration. Bit out of place though. And here's a clip of the rest of Wintergrasp. I'm just gonna let you guys chill and relax while you watch it and listen to some cool music. Well, that's the end of End Time. Let's make one final dive into the vast lands of the Out of Bounds instance. Thank you all again for watching. Thanks for watching. Aha! I finally made it! But something is wrong. Where are the guards? Where are the mages that normally are studying this area, no matter what time of day or situation going on around them? That crystal is missing too. What's going on? I know that most of the world has been destroyed by Deathwing, but I thought the floating city of Dalaran would be the last place on Azeroth to fall. I must enter the city. Without the crystal though, there's only one other way in. That means I have to climb Angrathar. Thankfully, the Scourge have been subdued for now. Subdued as in, they're all wiped out. This, guys, this right here, this is Dalaran. But we're not in Northrend. No, we are in the Caverns of Time, the End Time, and yet we can clearly see that the entire floating city is included in this instance. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the out-of-bounds Dalaran included in the End Time instance. I will not be showing how to get out of bounds in the End Time, as I've already shown that off. If you want to see that video, there will be a card on the top of the screen. Aha! I made it! Finally! The city is too quiet though. I don't hear any people on the inside. Krasus, bring me down a drink. Nothing. Nothing at all. Well, there's the other way in too. Disgusting. The torches are still lit. Treasure is still here. But where the heck is everyone? So yeah, it seems that you can actually get into the city of Dalaran via the sewers, and you can explore most of the area as well. It's all here, but do be careful as you can still get stuck if you get too close to the invisible barrier that is considered the edge of the very edge of the map. The music is the same, the ambience is the same, and it's just completely amazing to see this area. Also, fun little fact here, you can still fish in the sewers here. Yeah, they're fishable. So good thing I actually have fishing on this character. I mean, look at that. I'm now fishing skill 4. I'm a professional, guys. Please, professional here. Professional fisher. Okay, let's move on up to the surface. And here we are. You can see most of the city, including the Violet Hold area. Just don't go too far north, of course. There might be a line here that gets you stuck. Maybe not, but it's possible. The Violet Hold's door is also here and can be interacted with, which I thought was cool. There's nothing behind it, but it is really cool that you can, open the door to the Violet Hold. Finally to the city itself. Now, let's see. There's still no one here. What is happening? What is going on in this world? I'll have to use Spectral Sight in case they're all under a cloaking spell or hidden away somewhere. Still nothing. Guess I'm the only one left. Wait, who are you? Me? I'm just exploring an out-of-bounds area in World of Warcraft. And you? What does that even mean? World of Warcraft? Out of bounds? Where am I? I must get to the Violet Citadel at once. Anyone? Wait, no! Help! Someone! Anyone! Well that was weird. So, anyway, let's move on from that, whatever that was. You can fish in this fountain here, and you can actually obtain the special coins in the fountain, just like in the actual city. I thought that this is pretty neat, as you could technically get this entire achievement set out of bounds. As for the rest of the city, you can walk into all of the buildings on the southern side. That means that you can enter this bank here, and you can even interact with the mailbox. And the guild vault. I didn't know that their services transversed instances and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean it does, I guess. Kind of amazing that all of this was left interactable. Now my favorite part about this area is being able to walk into the Silver Covenant side of the city, because as a horde player, I've not seen the inside of this area since Wrath of the Lich King. It's been that long, but there are no guards to stop me now. Good thing. All of the decorations are here, and if you want to walk into the inn area, you can hear the clinking of glasses. The music changes to tavern music, and I just love when stuff like this happens. It gives me chills because we are all alone in an out-of-bounds area, but there is still lively bar music playing, and you can hear ghostly conversations. Moving on, I continue to explore the rest of the Alliance base. Definitely not for scouting purposes though. Definitely not. Definitely not. Of course, you can also explore the Violet Hold too, but there is really nothing in here. It just looks like it normally does. In the Wonderworks though, there is a train still running on its tracks. It's very creepy. Honestly, it's very creepy. Ooh, all these gems are mine now. The Violet Gate can also be explored, but again, the crystal that teleports you, it's not here. It's not in here. It would be cool if it was, but it's just not. Do be careful, because the invisible wall is very close by at this point. For a reference, when you reach the Herbalism building, that's as far as you can travel. The very last place I want to show off is Krasus's Landing. It brings back so many memories of AFKing because I took a flight path to Dalaran and just left my character sitting there for a very long time. I don't know how many times I've done that. It's probably in the hundreds though. Hundreds of times that I've just, click fly to Dalaran and then I walk off, I go make lunch, I did whatever, and then I come back, like 40 minutes later and I log in and guess what? I'm sitting at Krasus's Landing. I mean, come on. Who hasn't done that? Phew, that was close. Maybe this wall is what's causing all the people in this area to disappear. I must find another person. Also, to anyone wondering why the guy couldn't tell the area is messed up when he was in Crystal Song, I mean, look at his eyes, he's freaking blind. And we have the very last dungeon in the Caverns of Time, Dragon Soul. The Dragon Soul raid contains the final showdown between us and Deathwing, and has by far some of the weirdest places to explore. It also concludes the Caverns of Time glitch series. This is the final dungeon, dungeon number 8 of the Caverns of Time glitch series. Let's jump in. First, I will be explaining how to perform the glitch, and then we will explore different sections of the out-of-bounds areas, and finally, we will conclude our travels in the Caverns of Time. At the very end of the video, I will have some updates about the channel, but you'll have to wait until then. Let's look at how to perform the glitch first. I only saw one other person show off how to get out of bounds in Dragon Soul, so I definitely am not the first person to perform the actual glitch, but it does seem like I'm one of the first people, if not the only one, to put out a full video on the entire exploration, at least according to the YouTube algorithm. There very well could be thousands of people that have done this exploration, but the YouTube algorithm doesn't really show those videos, so I just don't know if I'm missing something. I don't know. Good thing performing this glitch is not terribly difficult, so it's easy to show off. When you first arrive in Dragon Soul, you'll want to travel directly to the Maw spawn over in the north. You can easily use Door of Shadows to break through the barrier, and you'll be well on your way to exploration. Do be careful though, if you use the wrong tentacle, the Door of Shadows, you can get through the barrier, however, you may end up getting stuck on the other side like I did here. Whoops. Also, I noted that you can just walk over to the Maw on the western side of the map and just fall in. I'm not really sure why they allowed you to do this, but thankfully there is a portal to return to the overworld. Okay, so we are out of bounds. Now what? It's time to explore. Now, in my previous videos, this is where I would show you the entire Out of Bounds experience that I had while recording. I love doing this type of video, but the videos are starting to feel a bit janky to me and maybe even slightly boring in different parts. So for this video, I'm going to cut straight to the interesting points. And if you want to see the full exploration of the Out of Bounds area in Dragonblight, I have a video on the Hour of Twilight Out of Bounds and End Time. There are differences between those two instances and this instance. However, those ones are way more in depth than this one will be. The only things I will be showing off in this exploration is the differences between those and also some unique things that are only in this particular Out of Bounds exploration. The very first keynote difference between this instance and Hour of Twilight and End Time is that instead of the world just ending like they do, it leads to an untextured platform beyond Dragonblight. Exploring the entire outer edge of the map revealed that there is not much down here to look at. There are some items sticking out of the cliffs and some weird colored textures. It does look pretty weird, not gonna lie. These are way on the other side of the map, but other than that, there's nothing interesting down here, guys, so don't waste your time exploring this area. At this point, I decided that I should try and use a sea mist potion with a selfie camera. If you guys did not know about this glitch, it causes the camera to go just nuts. And we can see all of the outer area of the map. You can see really far with this. I'll show this little bit here, but there wasn't anything to discover, but there is an insane view of just the Out of Bounds area. It's incredible. The only other note I want to mention about the Outer Edge map is that you can also glimpse the underside of Angerthar, the Wrathgate, but I'll show more of that area off soon enough. You guys will get to see more about Angerthar, trust me. Now in this Out of Bounds area, you can explore New Avalon, you can explore Winterguard Keep, and all of those areas we've seen before in my channel. So as I stated before, they will not be covered in this video. I will note that in Winterguard, the mausoleum that's supposed to be here is just a gaping hole, just like in the End Time. The area definitely could be explored in the Hour of Twilight though. Next, we have a very strange discovery. In the port of New Avalon, there is always a boat here. In the Hour of Twilight, this was just the normal boat that's found in Dragonblight. In the End Time, this boat was destroyed. But in this instance, it's not landing, and we're now in Uldum. Somehow. It even has the correct music to match. How freaking bizarre is that? Moving on to Milwaukee Harbor, there are some crabs left in their cages, and the half shell is included here, just like in the Hour of Twilight. I thought that's interesting because this is not consistent. It's different in the Hour of Twilight, it's different in End Time, and it's different here. Another inconsistency is that the Induli village has kept its icebergs this time. In the End Time, they're not here, and in the Hour of Twilight, the whole Induli village just doesn't exist. The Obsidian Dragon Shrine is actually a little different than the other two Out of Bounds areas because this one just has a gaping hole in it. Very strange. Just walk through the map if you really wanted to here. Now, the Wrathgate, we're finally at the Wrathgate, yes, we're finally here, is in a weirder state than the previous two explorations. Only the structure of the Wrathgate is here, but the wintergrass behind the Wrathgate, which is normally here, is completely cut off. It doesn't relieve me of my duties as an explorer, though. I still have to climb the gate. Now, on the way to the top of the gate, we can see a part of Crystal Song Forest, but there isn't much of the area included, as opposed to the Hour of Twilight, and especially End Time, which includes Dalaran. Which, again, I'm still working on the video for that. I will eventually get around to making that. It's just, these videos take a long time to make. When we get even closer to the top of the Wrathgate, the chat channel changes to the Dragonblight General Chat, and it states that we are physically in Angerthar, the Wrathgate, and it even shows it on the minimap. The music also changes to Dragonblight, which I will show here. Weird but nothing we've not already seen in previous explorations. It's difficult to navigate the upper area of the Wrathgate, and I accidentally flew over the edge and slowly had to glide down the cliffside to the other side of the Wrathgate. Now, I do not know for sure. I could be wrong on this, but this may be the only way to see what lies on the inside of the Wrathgate. Now, check me on this if I'm wrong. It may be the only way though. It isn't completely textured, but we can see that the area inside is supposedly pitch black. I'm actually a little shocked that there's an inside cave at all. Now heading back into the mainland, the Ruby Dragon Shrine is janky, and I honestly recommend staying the frick away from here.
Stay away from the summoner!
I may have gotten stuck here. Yeah, I did have to actually restart the whole entire exploration. When I started exploring again, I do note here that Frostmourne Cave is intact, whereas it was not intact in End Time. That's it for the main exploration area in Dragonblight. finally, it's time to wipe the floor with these little losers.
Gee, thanks.
After you take out these faceless ones, you'll have to enter the Eye of Eternity for a quick encounter. You guys know what that means, right? We have to glitch out of bounds here. We have to. Kind of a given, but still. You can easily fall through the map using Door of Shadows, and it's quite a long drop. Quite a long drop. Yep. Still falling. Eventually I do die, but my body keeps sliding and we can actually slightly move past the skybox. So there's an amazing view here. It's kind of weird, kind of strange, thought I'd point it out. And there's nothing else I really found here. Maybe there's more, I didn't find it. But moving on, and after you beat Ultraxion, you'll be able to start the Spine of Deathwing portion of the raid. Jumping off the airship does not get you very far, so I had to implement some tricks. Now, I'm not really going to explain how I was able to perform this part of the exploration. Normally, I like to just be as simple as possible. Anyone can do it. But this time, I did implement a little strategy that a subscriber had told me about. I'm not going to mention who it is. I just know how to do it. I do want to say that I did not use external tools, but they're just not exactly simple things that anybody on the planet can do. I don't always want to use these tactics, and I don't like not being able to share exactly how I did it, but this is too good of a view not to be showing off here. This clip right here was the best view that I was able to obtain with my super secret exploration tactics. I will note here though, if you want to try out the Sea Mist Potion glitch here, you can definitely get some interesting views, but it will be difficult to get a specific view, meaning that you just zoom way too far out. I mean, holy frick, what were they thinking when they allowed this glitch to be in the game? It's been out here for quite a while. One thing cool with the Sea Mist Potion though is that you can just see how utterly massive this area is. And yes, you'll die if you travel in this area, but wow, it is freaking massive. There is no sea either underneath the airship. It's all a facade. Alright, there wasn't much else to point out here, at least as far as I saw. I will probably have a smaller video on showing how instead of Deathwing rolling, the map, I'm pretty sure, actually rotates instead. You can see it wobble, so we'll explore that in another video. I don't have time for that in this video. We're in recording this, I'm already at 12 minutes. Ain't no time for that. Ain't no time for that. The final phase. Let's start this area off by jumping directly into the Maelstrom. How fun. But I will have to do better than that. It didn't work out very well. So I tried a Sea Mist Potion here just to get a better look at the Maelstrom, and this is what I saw. It looks just like the Well of Eternity, except instead of a nice, calming green, it's a bright, burning red-orange. Oh, by the way, you can see weird textures in this instance simply by walking down here. I figured this out a while ago when I was running in this instance for old achievements. Come on, devs, did you honestly think someone would not fall during the raid? Come on, cover it up at least a little bit. Now, using my special methods of moving long distances, I made it to this little island over here. I always love making it to these little islands or plots of land in the distance, even if there isn't a secret or anything. It makes me feel like I'm doing my due diligence as an explorer. I should be going to these little islands if I can. You can also make it to this mountain range over here, and you can climb the mountains. Over here, you can get a really great view of the Maelstrom, and you can also DC. Fun. But look at that view, it was worth it. The last thing I tried to observe was what Deathwing looked like underneath the Maelstrom. I only had a quick glance and it definitely looked strange in what I saw, but sadly the encounter resets too quickly to really see what's going on here. I truly hope that you enjoyed this recap of the Caverns of Time's explorations that I have performed on the channel. I love making each and every one of these videos, and you can tell how far I've come with video editing and commentary. If you are a first-time viewer and you made it this far, then congratulations. It's definitely not a short video. I hope that you stick around to join the Itemcrafter family. I'll see you guys in the next one.